Hi, I'm Ankita. I am currently studying law and commerce in Sydney, in Australia. And yeah, I guess one of my hobbies, or how we kind of met as well, is I have a podcast just all about university life and about the university experience, I guess, which I love uploading on. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
Love it. So what you said you're doing law and commerce?
Yeah.
And so what's your major?
So I'm majoring for commerce. I'm majoring in human resource management. And law, we don't really have majors. We just have like a set subject, like we just have set subjects that we need to do.
What made you decide to study commerce and law?
It's kind of, so law I've always wanted to do. I think since I was in school, I've just really liked the kind of more writing and English subjects. And I also did mock trial, which I enjoyed. I don't think it's that equivalent to doing law or studying law or practicing it, but I still had a lot of fun doing it. And so that kind of, pushed me in that direction. With commerce, honestly, it was more just when I got into my degree, it came up with all these options for double degrees, and it's quite overwhelming. So there was like 20. It was like this and law, this law, this law. Right, yeah. And I wasn't really sure of a lot of them, and commerce and law was like kind of a more common one that I knew other people were doing, and friends that were a bit older were doing. So that's kind of why.
And did you ever consider studying like anywhere else, or did you always know you were going to like go stay in Sydney?
Not really. I didn't really consider studying anywhere else that much. I think I probably wasn't ready to move overseas. Definitely. I don't think I had the maturity or anything at 17 to move overseas. And then I think interstate wise, I think there was some good unis in Sydney and good options here. So I didn't really feel the need to move, I think, at this time. Yeah.
Right. Cool. And so what year are you now? You're in your fourth year?
Fourth year. Finished my last class today, actually. And so I'm going to then have a little break for summer and then have one more year before graduating.
Cool. And what was your first year experience like? Like, do you remember what it was like when you first started?
Yeah, I think there was no COVID. So it was really different when I think about it. I think at the beginning it was really exciting because every day was really different, and like I would go to uni and it would all be new, especially in that first semester. But then, and I really like meeting new people, talking to people. So it was always exciting. But then as I got into it, it got a bit routine, I think, in a sense, and definitely towards the end of my first year. So my first year was in 2018, and towards the end of that, I felt a bit burnt out, and I was like, this is kind of the same every day. So I definitely remember that. And I think I didn't know a lot of the shortcuts that I know now. So I think I was working hard and not working smart. So yeah, that was probably what I remember.
And what's the schedule like? I guess if you're doing a double degree, do you have to take more classes than normal, or is it just the same?
Part of the law degree, they give you like a kind of planner. Yeah. So they give you what you're sort of meant to be doing. And in that planner, they have like put in your other course here, things like that. I don't think you do more. I think a law degree by itself might be like 3 and a bit years or 3 years. So you add on 2 extra years to do the second degree. But then, for example, in my commerce degree, I'm not doing a minor. I think you do a major and a minor or something if you just do commerce, but we just pick one thing and that's it. So I think it kind of equates to the same, really.
Okay, cool. I don't think I asked you, so why did you choose HR for your major for commerce?
Yes, so I started commerce, and in commerce the first year there's a lot of compulsory subjects, and a lot of them are very maths based, like accounting and stats and even microeconomics. They were all very maths based, and I really struggled with them, didn't like them either. And I realized that I couldn't spend like another 2 years doing subjects like that. Like it was just, I was not really happy, and It was a drag to learn. So I think I was between like info systems, HR, and management as a major, and then kind of did like a flexi course in info systems, didn't really like it. And then I picked HR just based on the subjects, and they sounded more interesting. But the primary reason was that there's no maths. It's more Englishy, yeah.
Cool. Yeah, and I mean, do you find that like most people that study law do double degrees? Is it kind of normal?
So at my uni, you have to.
Oh, really?
They don't, unless you're doing a JD. So JD is like the postgrad program. So you've already done a degree. But I know that there are some unis. So I go to UNSW, but UTS, I'm pretty sure, has just a law degree by itself. I'm not sure about the other unis here, but I just know UTS. But it's more common, I think, to have the double degree now.
Yeah, I'm not sure how it works like in Australia, but basically in New Zealand, law is quite competitive. Because like if you can apply basically anyone can apply to a law degree, but after the first year they cut people off depending on your grades and stuff.
Oh wow.
So does it
at uni
work for you
they
guys?
cut people off at uni?
Yeah,
that's really I never heard of that. That's really interesting.
So I guess
it's not
it's a little bit competitive, like first year law, but was it like that for you?
So you basically anyone can start it, but then you will get culled after the first year.
A little bit. Is
that like in every uni, or is that just?
I think it's most unis, yeah. Or you need a certain grade after first year to get into second year.
Oh wow, okay. So I haven't heard that here in Australia, or at least in Sydney.
Yeah.
I think it's more there are different rankings of all the unis.
Yeah.
So like some of the ones like Sydney Uni, ANU, so ANU in Canberra, Melbourne Uni, UNSW, UTS, things like that, they're all kind of ranked. And then the higher your uni's ranked, the more competitive it is to get in. So for example, Sydney Uni, you have to get an ATAR score of 99.5 and above, and that's all they accept. They don't accept anyone under 99.5. UNSW has an extra test called the law admission test, but I think once you're in. I've not heard of the culling after that. Yeah, that's quite brutal, actually.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. So I guess most of the stress is just like in year 12 or your final year of high school. And what's like the social life? Like, is there clubs and stuff to get involved in outside of study?
Yeah, so in general at the uni, there's a lot of different things, and there's pretty much things for anyone. Like I'm pretty sure most things you're interested in would have a club, or if there's not, you can start one. In terms of degree specific, so I know for law there is a law society and they run a lot of events. It can be a bit competitive to get a position in the law society. So for example, to be like a director or whatever, or the president, like people literally campaign for the role of president and other direct executive roles. And back when there was no COVID, people would like hand out flyers and stuff. So that's quite competitive, but they do run a lot of events and competitions. So we have law competitions like mooting and negotiation and things like that. So I think like there's a lot of opportunity to get involved, but it's obviously just how much you want to do and balance with everything else.
Cool. Yeah. And I guess when COVID started, like everything went online, right? So I mean, how is that like for you? What's your experience?
Yeah, it was different. I think the thing that I've just sort of gotten over recently is like meeting people was really hard. I think I'm luckier that I was already in my third year, but there were like first year students that didn't know anyone, didn't know the campus. And I think that's quite tough. Other than that, it's been okay. I just feel like you don't meet as many people as maybe you would have in person, and kind of awkward to message people. I don't know. You have to have a knack of doing it.
Yeah. Do you find it harder to study online or like more academically?
Academic.
Has it affected your grades or not really?
I don't think so. I don't think it's affected my grades. Yeah. I think they've done a decent job of keeping that up. And I know at UNSW, they only have 30 people a class. And they have class participation is part of your mark. Sometimes it can be like as high as 20%.
Yeah.
So I think that like encourages you to like do the reading beforehand, come to class and actually answer, or they give you like a low mark for that. So that and having a lower amount of people has been useful.
And how do you get assessed? Like, is it exams or mostly just assignments?
Yeah, so before COVID, we used to have class participation.
Yeah.
Which basically you have to do the reading before and then they ask questions in class. So the way my uni runs it is just questions, pretty much mostly. They run the class through questions. And then we have an assignment, like a mid-term assignment.
Yeah.
And then we used to have an exam, which would be like in like a literal exam.
Yeah.
Like Randwick race course, and we'd all go and sit like you would in school. But obviously since COVID, we haven't done that anymore. We just have like a take-home exam, we call it. So we have somewhere like 24 hours, 48 hours, something like that. Yeah. And
cool.
We do it that way.
I guess to me, like the whole class participation aspect, like sounds quite stressful because like every class you got to be like onto it. You know, you got to be, I don't know, like talking, participating. Like for me, I don't know, I feel like, say if you're more shy or introverted, maybe you don't want to speak up in class, but you kind of have to, right? To get marks.
There's not very many other ways. I know some people have like actually had issues with doing it and they've gone like the official way to get consideration and whatever. And some lecturers might be nicer and have alternatives. Like some lecturers do forums as well.
Yeah.
So if you don't want to like speak in class, you can post in the forum. Are just like hard and fast, like they won't do anything, and you just have to.
Yeah.
So yeah, it can be quite scary, and it is stressful sometimes. Like you feel like you have to. Oh my gosh, you haven't said anything in the class, and you have to. Yeah.
But I think in the beginning you said like you figured out some ways to maybe study more effectively. So do you have any tips to share with the people?
Study tips. I think even if you don't have class participation, it is good to try and like participate. I think even in classes, like in my commerce degree, there have been classes which don't have any participation, but participating has helped me stay a bit focused. So even just like the goal of like say something once in the class, which is useful, which I found useful in staying focused. Otherwise I would like to zone out. And I think also having maybe a goal, like I had a kind of overall goal that I wanted to reach for my like GPA, or we call it WAM, overall score kind of thing. So that was really useful as well. Yeah, those would be my main. And then once you get into it, I feel like it kind of becomes second nature.
Cool. All right. I guess diving into your podcast, like what made you want to start a podcast?
I think it was mainly, I was in first year, and as I was saying earlier, like I got a bit lost at the end of first year and I didn't really know what I was doing, and I was looking for resources. And I had started listening to podcasts, but like they were just like celebrities and YouTubers that I liked and stuff. And I was like, oh, this is super cool. And at the time, podcasts were quite new. Like they were not as common as they are now. So this was like 4 years ago, maybe. And so I was like, oh, I wonder if there's any podcasts like this about uni. And I was looking for things that talked about, you know, like jobs, or talked about taking gap year or going on exchange and things like that. And I couldn't really find anything. And I was talking to some friends about it, and they suggested, you know, why don't you start one? Which at the time was a bit of a joke, but I actually did. I don't think a lot of people think I would, but I actually did. And yeah, it's just kind of been continuing, and it's just things that I would want to listen to and hope that other people wanted to.
Nice. And how do you go about getting guests for your podcast?
Sometimes it's just people like I really like watching or listening to, and then I just send them an email. Sometimes if it's like friends, sometimes they'll be like, oh, can I talk about this in your podcast? And I'll be like, that sounds really cool. Let's do an episode. And sometimes just like cold emailing has also worked at times.
Nice. And do you have any podcasts that you really like to listen to?
Which ones do I like? I like Harvard Business Review has a podcast where they talk about like ideas. So it's not like commerce stuff, but it's just like ideas and stuff, which was recommended to me by a friend, and I really do like that. What else do I listen to? There's a podcast called Outspoken. I don't know if you've heard of it, but it's kind of more like influencer information and stuff, which is always interesting to listen to. Yeah, those are the main two.
Awesome. And I guess my final question, maybe if someone's watching this and they're thinking of going into law at like UNSW, do you have any advice or any tips you'd give them?
When they're still applying?
Yeah, let's say they're in year 11 or year 12 and they're thinking of going into law.
I think I would say don't expect to have it all figured out when you join. I think that would be like when you're joining, because it's a bit of a whirlwind and people are doing all sorts of things, and it is sort of a group of like high achieving people, and people want to have all these goals. So yeah, it does take time to figure out your mojo a little bit. Just for applying in general, I would say do the law admission test, which is a really good way to get in as well, using that along with your ATAR score. And yeah, just keep an open mind about what you want to combine law with, because commerce and law and arts and law are very common, but there are lots of other opportunities. Like computer science and law is really good, and a lot of employers love that when you have a tech background too.
Awesome. Cool. Thank you so much for taking the time.
Thank you.
Do this.
Thank you for having me.